Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, April 16th, and I'm your host, Brian Boudreau. And it's great to have you here with us as we end another week here in Norwood. Saturday night, the Norwood Police responded to an incident on Azalea Drive near the Norwood Airport. Shortly before 9:30, the police department ordered a shelter in place in the surrounding neighborhood. Chief Brooks explains the details.
Hi, this is Chief Bill Brooks of the Norwood Police Department. I'm here to talk a little bit about an event that occurred Saturday night, which had a tragic ending, but I want to talk a little bit about the incident itself and our operation inside the Azalea Drive neighborhood. So Saturday night, a little after 8:30, we received a call from a resident there that another member of the household had taken a handgun and was in the home and had made some statements that were concerning. Our officers arrived at the scene very quickly and found the caller in the street, having left the home. The subject was still inside when the officers first arrived, but quickly left the home and went out to a wooded area. Now this area is very thick vegetation that lies between Azalea Drive and Norwood Airport, and that's where he had gone. When the first officers got there, they not only realized that he had left, but they could hear him working his way through this area, through this wooded area, and heard him work the action of the firearm. The officers set a perimeter. So this is standard procedure in that we try to contain the incident as best we can and also keep people who are not from the area out of the area. So this entails officers blocking the street with their radio cars and keeping the public out. We also made a so-called reverse 911 call into the area using a system called Swift Reach that places phone calls into homes, and we ask people to shelter in place. We also put a message on our Facebook page asking people to stay indoors and not to come out. The idea there is, even though we had a general direction of travel of where the man went, once we set a perimeter and there's a firearm involved, we really do need residents to stay indoors. All of the police personnel who are there are either in uniform or they're wearing markings that say police. So people in the area who are not law enforcement pose a problem for us. So we appreciate the public's cooperation in that. Because of the threat of a firearm, because there was a firearm involved, the sergeant who was in charge of the shift, Sergeant Payne, put in a call out for the Metro SWAT team. We belong to the Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council, and as a result we have access to Metro SWAT. In fact, Sergeant Payne is one of the commanding officers on Metro SWAT, and we have two other officers who are members of the team. The advantage there, when people think of SWAT, they think of gunfire and drug entries and that sort of thing, but most of what SWAT does is that they arrive in tactical gear that allows them to stay safe and to get closer to an armed subject. They're really there to ensure that there is not a loss of life and to improve public safety. And they do a remarkable job, and they did that night. So I was at the scene, as was Deputy Chief Padden. We were in constant contact with the commanders from Metro SWAT. They were consulting us with every move that they made. They hardened our perimeter, if you will. They were also able to get closer to where we thought the person had gone. They were able to use armored vehicles in order to get close to right at the wood line where the man had gone. We used trained crisis negotiators, again provided by Metro, who were trained in these matters to do the communication themselves initially and then to guide us. Lieutenant Benedetti ended up standing at the wood line, hollering into the wooded area, talking to the man and trying to get him to come out. Metro also provides an investigative support unit, which is staffed by detectives who talk to family members and try to get background, and their whole purpose is to help feed intelligence back to SWAT and to feed intelligence back to the negotiators. And they were here and they did a great job. There was a mobile command post that was established in the neighborhood so that we had a base of operations. And my thanks also go to the Norwood Fire Department that staged an ambulance right away so that we would have immediate access to emergency medical services, and we were in contact with our public safety partners from Norwood Fire. Massachusetts State Police also responded at our request. They brought a lieutenant and a sergeant who helped us with command of the situation, they also provided an airship. And the availability of the airship was that they were able to, although flying very high in the area, they were able to use optics and help us guide the perimeter and give us information about where they thought that the man may have gone. So this operation that started, like I said, just after 8:30, concluded shortly before 2 o'clock. Unfortunately, the man took his own life. Now this aspect I can't talk about in great detail because by statute, deaths that occur outside hospitals, and particularly suicides, are investigated by detectives of the police department where the death occurred and investigators from the Office of the Norfolk District Attorney, and as well as the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. So an investigation into this death is underway. So I don't want to comment anything beyond that, but it does appear that this death was a self-inflicted gunshot wound by suicide. But of course, like I said, the investigation will proceed on that. So, you know, having been there for hours and all of the officers working so hard, our goal really was to not only protect the neighborhood, but you know, also to provide services to this gentleman. And fortunately, it did not have the outcome that we were looking for, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family. I also want to mention that, you know, we do the best we can to talk to the public when these things are underway, and really to follow up afterwards. So when the event ended, all we really released is that the shelter-in-place advisory had been lifted, and the event was over. The next morning, I issued a statement that described as best I could the event that occurred, and we posted that to our Facebook page, and the town posted on the Facebook page as well. The other thing we did is that officers in pairs walked Azalea Drive, knocking on doors and just offering to answer questions. And if people from that neighborhood have any questions, they can contact me personally here at the police department. I'm happy to talk to anybody. But you know, when an event like that happens in a neighborhood, we are cognizant of the impact that that has on families. And so that's why we ensure that officers walk the neighborhood and just answered questions and just talk to folks. We actually talked to a few folks right after the event that night, around 2 o'clock in the morning. If we saw lights on and people inside, we knocked on doors and chatted with people. So you know, this is an unfortunate ending to a very difficult situation. Again, my thoughts are with the family. I'm incredibly proud of the work of the members of the Norwood Police Department and then our support agencies that I've already talked about. I just think that they performed remarkably well, very professional, and we heard that from the neighbors as well. Again, anybody has questions about this, wants more information, they can give me a call or contact me by email, and I'm happy to answer individual questions.
We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Tuesday morning, the fire department received a call for mutual aid for a structure fire on Weatherby Drive in Westwood. Later in the day, they released this statement. Just after 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, Group 1, Engine 5 responded as mutual aid to the town of Westwood for their second alarm fire on Weatherby Drive. On arrival, the Norwood crew was put to work assisting with fire attack on the second floor and attic as well as conducting searches. NA3 also responded to the scene and transported the patient from the fire to a Boston hospital. The Engine 5 crew operated for about 2 hours before returning to town. While they were gone, the rest of Group 1 and recall firefighters were kept busy by responding to over a dozen other emergency calls, including multiple medical calls requiring mutual aid ambulances from Walpole, Sharon, and Westwood Fire. Another great job by our Norwood Fire Department. Next up on our weekly park tour, we met Christina Grande and Katie Seastead at Wilson Park to learn all about the activities available there.
Hi there, Norwood. Christina Grandy here at the Wilson Playground. If you're not sure where Wilson is, you're going to head towards Walpole, take a right at the Walgreens, and the park is right here on your left. We have a beautiful playground. It's one of our bigger playgrounds. And another perk, we have beautiful picnic tables. So bring your family down, bring your lunch, hang out, and have a great time.
Batter up, Norwood. That's right, here at Wilson, where you have a large baseball field. Also, we have groups that are renting out this field for cricket. Reminder for our field permits, contact the Civic Center so that way we can make sure that you have a permit for our fields. We do have field permit checkers, so please make sure that you pull your permits for the fields. We hope to see these fields packed this spring and summer after a long winter. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you, DPW, for keeping this place looking beautiful. We also do have porta potties at all of our playgrounds, so we look forward to seeing you soon.
Last Friday, the town announced in a press release that they will be participating in the Mass Development Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. Town Management Analyst Joe Collins explains what the program is and how it can be a benefit to local businesses.
Okay, the PACE program allows businesses to purchase energy efficient measures like purchasing a new HVAC system or a new boiler or renewable energy, anything like like solar panels or wind turbines that go on top of their building. They allow them to do that without paying a significant upfront cost by using financing through mass development. Those loans are tax exempt using the state's ability to use tax exempt bonds. Those bonds are then administered by a separate financial party, basically a bank, and then the property owner will pay the town of Norwood an additional fee through a betterment assessment. The town will take that money and pay mass development and eventually the lender. It lowers the risk for the lender to provide this type of financing tool for some energy efficiency tools, which will hopefully lower the financial cost of doing these types of measures and also improve the environment at the same time. If they want to know anything general about the program, they can talk to me. You can email me at jacollins@norwoodma.gov or call Town Hall, or you can contact Mass Development and NCM will provide that information later.
Now we'll toss it over to Juliana O'Neill to find out what is happening around the Norwood School District this week.
Hi guys, I'm Juliana O'Neill, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. At Norwood High School, the seniors came back on Monday and began their 4-day schedule. Here's Principal Dr. Hugh Galligan.
Today at Norwood High School, we welcome back many of our seniors. We were able to increase in-person learning, so most of our seniors came back for 4 days of in-person learning a week starting today. To greet them, we had a big welcome home message out in front of the school. Some of our lovely staff volunteers decorated the school, sidewalk chalk messages sending positive vibes to our students as they came back, beads, stickers, candy handed out to kids welcoming them back. We had stars in the hallway with all of our seniors' last names so that our seniors can see themselves as they move through the hallways for these last couple months of their senior year. Lots of work has been done in the building to prepare for today. In addition to our staff volunteers who decorated, a big shout out to our facilities crew, our custodians, who helped move all of the desks back into our classrooms as we transitioned from 6-foot spacing in the classroom to 3-foot spacing to allow us to combine cohorts. It was great to have the building alive, to see classes full of students in the senior class, and we look forward to welcoming back students in grades 9 through 11 on Tuesday, April 27th. It was great to have that positive vibe back in the building, a little more busy and a little more up, and we are looking forward to making the end of the senior year special for the graduating class of 2021.
I am a senior class president, and I want to thank everyone for making Monday morning special. We are all excited to be back to finish our senior year in person and can't wait for the activities that are being planned for us. Also in NHS news, the post-prom committee held a golf ball drop fundraiser for the class of 2021. 500 golf balls were sold, and the Norwood Fire Department helped out by providing their ladder truck to drop the golf balls. The big $1,000 winner was Ed Sopel, and Bill Glavin won a round of golf at Brookmeadow, and Meg Davey won a round at the Norwood Country Club. The committee would like to thank the Norwood Fire Department and the country clubs for supporting the class of 2021. The Coakley Middle School wrapped up another successful food drive for the Norwood Food Pantry. Thanks to all who donated and helped out, and also to Miss Siegel for coordinating the effort. The 5th grade at the Balch School participated in a virtual field trip with the Commonwealth Museum on Wednesday. Students learned about the events leading up to the American Revolution and participated in a mock trial for the soldiers involved in the Boston Massacre. Patty McCarthy served as judge, Victoria Kiko, Claudine Domercant, and Jada Claroux served as witnesses for the prosecution, while Ruan Barbosa de Souza, Noah Almeida, and Isabel Santana Ramirez were the witnesses for the defense. The rest of the students acted as members of the jury and found the soldiers guilty of manslaughter. The students asked lots of great questions, learned a lot, and enjoyed the presentation. The 5th grade would like to thank the Commonwealth Museum for making this virtual field trip possible. At the Callahan, students in Mrs. Cabral's 2nd grade class have been learning about procedural texts and traditions from around the world during reading. For the past few weeks, students worked with their families to pick a recipe that was special to them and represented their culture. Then, students wrote up the recipe in a paragraph during writing time to describe the cultural background of their recipe and why it is special to them. Our class had representations from Ghana, Haiti, Albania, Lebanon, Brazil, Egypt, and Jewish cultures, to name a few. The only thing missing in this project is a taste test. NPS is becoming a Special Olympics Unified Champion School district. Unified Champion Schools encourage and support students with and without disabilities to come together as leaders, athletes, and champions for inclusion. The Prescott School celebrated this new initiative with an Inclusion Week that included activities every day. On Monday, they demonstrated their diversity by students sharing their culture. They wore something that defines who they are and makes them proud. On Tuesday, it was Autism Acceptance. Students wore blue to support autism awareness and acceptance. Wednesday was a pledge to include. The whole school signed a Prescott pledge to spread the message of inclusion. Thursday was Rainbow Day, and students and staff wore many colors of the rainbow to show pride in our differences and celebrate the inclusion of all. And Friday was Crazy Hat Day. Students showed off their silly side with the crazy hat and celebrated all they learned this week about being inclusive. The Cleveland School also celebrated Inclusion Week and was a sea of blue on Wednesday to support autism awareness and signed their pledge to promote diversity and acceptance. Well, that's it for the school news. There is something interesting happening in our classrooms and schools every day, and thanks to all the educators who share their news with us. Now let's go to Brian Dunn for the latest in Fall 2 sports.
Hello and welcome into the sports update for this week. My name is Brian Dunn, and as much as I would love to report another Mustang football win, the win streak came to an end at 3 over the weekend as a notoriously strong Ashland program came in and gave the Mustangs a competitive bout, ultimately winning 21-14. It was senior day for Norwood, so there was no doubt the Mustangs would be fired up and ready to go, and that they were. After creating a 14-0 hole for themselves, Brian Mateo once again entered the fray as a speed back for the Mustangs and broke loose down the sideline for the score. Lead officially cut in half. Mustangs not done there though. Rob Olkowski turns the legs and punches it in at the goal line, and we get a tie game at Murrayfield going into the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter rolls around, Ashland lines up in a tight formation, and it screams run, but in reality, it was a play-action pass. A man breaks free at the second level, and Ashland gets a late-game score, and that would be the difference as Ashland takes home the win 21-14. Nevertheless, a hard-fought effort by the Mustangs on their senior day. The only other competition this week was a rescheduled track and field meet against Holliston in anticipation of the rain. Norwood had some steady competitors in this one, and in the past few weeks, including Vivica Cord, who once again placed first in the shot put, and Caroline Davey, who placed first in the 55-meter dash. They had to battle some cold elements in the outdoor setting, but the Mustangs finished the home campaign strong. And Fall 2 flew by, and it wraps up this weekend as freshman and JV football will host Hopkinton in the season finale at Murrayfield. Freshmen go live at 9:30 a.m. Saturday, JV going live at 11:30 Saturday, so make sure you tune in live to NCM for all the action. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Brian. In government Monday, the Middle School Building Committee began their meeting with a project status update for the Coakley Middle School. Justin Tebow of AI3 reviewed the draft of the site plans for the committee. Following the site plan review, the committee discussed the evaluation criteria matrix. The Middle School Building Committee will meet again on April 29th at 7 p.m. Monday night's planning board meeting began by reorganizing the board and voting Joe Sheehan as the chairman, Ernie Pachikowski as the vice chair, and Debbie Holmwood as the clerk. The first public hearing was the site plan approval of Clay Subaru on Boston Providence Highway. This hearing was motioned to continue until Town Council can hear in on the matter, which will be on April 26th. Next on the agenda was an informal discussion with Phil Mackey about a potential zoning map amendment. The last issue was the Sunset Ave Slope Stabilization Plan, which has been an ongoing issue for the owners of the property and the Planning Board. The Planning Board discussed being able to complete the extension to stabilize the slope, and this discussion will be continued until April 26th. Next meeting will be held April 26th at 7 p.m. Tuesday was a busy night in town government with 3 meetings. The Board of Selectmen met with the Zoning Board of Appeals members Scott Murphy and Mary Kate Daly, the two remaining full-time members after 4 members either resigned or retired in the past month. The group met to interview 3 applicants for the full-time vacancies: former Planning Board member Al Porro, Airport Commissioner Michael Sheehan, and recent Library Board of Trustee candidate Shannon Greenwell. After brief interviews, all 3 candidates were appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Porro will fill a 3-year term starting in May. Mr. Sheehan will fill a 2-year term, and Ms. Greenwell will fill a 1-year term. The Board of Selectmen will meet again next week. The Trails Advisory Committee met with Life Scout Makana Umbe Goliev of Troop 49 and discussed his Eagle Scout project, which will be erecting 2 trailhead information kiosks.
I am currently working on my Eagle Scout project, which is to build 2 trailside kiosks, informational trailside kiosks. One will be, both of them will be on Germany Brook Path. The first one will be near the soccer field at Father Max, and the Winter Street by the chain area.
The project will be financed through Makana's fundraising efforts, and if you'd like to learn more about the project, watch the full Trails meeting on demand or on the NCM government channel. The next Trails Advisory meeting will be May 11th at 7 p.m. And the final meeting of Tuesday was the Library Board of Trustees, who began by introducing the newest trustee, Sherry McLeish, and the new adult services worker, Hillary Umbright. The board then approved the minutes from March 9th. Following the approval of the minutes, the board reviewed their reports and strategic plan. Library Director Clayton Cheever gave a presentation on the current strategic plan. To end the meeting, the board discussed old and new business. The next meeting will be held May 4th. The Community Preservation Committee was the sole meeting of Wednesday evening. After approval of the minutes, the board approved an amended spending amount of $29,125 for the fire bell removal project and an update on the University Ave Trail Design project. The board has officially closed the Bond Street Playground project as a means to return any unused money back into the CPA fund. A project tracking spreadsheet has been created to stay organized on the status of current and upcoming projects. The board ended the meeting with updates on open projects such as the Carillon Restoration Project. The CPC will meet again in the coming weeks. Thursday night's Finance Commission meeting was very brief and started off by approving the minutes from the past few meetings. Reserve fund transfer for equipment at the fire department was voted on by the Commission to approve these funds. Finally, they wanted to let the community know that there will be another middle school forum meeting held Thursday, April 29th at 7 p.m. For complete government coverage, tune into the NCM government channel or watch it on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for more town news. Welcome back. The warmer weather is here, and that means time for spring cleaning. Residents won't be the only ones cleaning their yards, though. The Old Parish Preservation Volunteers, or OPPV, have scheduled their work days for this spring. The work days are times where volunteers can come and clean the Old Parish Cemetery. Director of the OPPV, John Grove, has more.
This will be our fourth spring to start working in the cemetery. We did a little bit of work last year, but due to COVID, it was totally restricted and only a few volunteers were allowed to come in. So this year we think we're going to be able to open it up a little bit better. We are going to request masks must be worn while you're working in the cemetery. Our work days start on April 24th, and then they're every week thereafter. This year we're going to have a special work day on May 29, and we're going to be up at Highland Cemetery working. And the reason we're up there is there are a number of stones that are up at Highland Cemetery that had been moved there in the late 1800s by the families from the Old Parish Cemetery. So we're going to go up there and clean those stones because they did originate at Old Parish. So since we've started, we have seen remarkable change in the cemetery. It's noticeably improved. We have recovered stones that were lost, hidden under the grass. We've recovered stones that were put in safe storage when they originally crumbled or fell, and we've restored them and remounted them, cleaned them, recreated the grave site as it was originally done in the 1800s. So just remarkable improvement. Our other big news is we've got a grant from the Community Preservation Committee to have a landscape consulting firm who specializes in cemetery development, Halverson Associates, and they are starting their work assessing our cemetery, and they're going to make recommendations on how to make it a more accessible place, how to preserve it so it doesn't erode down into the MBTA parking lot. And we expect to have that assessment and their plan ready within the next year. So this summer we're working through May 29 will be our last work day. You can check our website. It's www.oldparishpreservationvolunteers.com. No spaces, no caps. If you click on the upcoming events tab, you'll see all of our upcoming work days. They're always on Saturday between 8:30 and 10:30. As I said before, we need masks worn and we need volunteers. We need people that like to probe around looking for lost fragments, people who like to see their work improve the presence of the cemetery and just enjoy being outdoors and doing something for the community.
Christmas on the Common? That's right. You may know by now that Norwood's Common and Gazebo are sporting a temporary makeover. The Norwood Theater is being used as a filming location for a film entitled A Playful Romance, directed by John Stimpson. There isn't much information out there yet on who'll be playing the leading roles, and it appears to be an independent film. Norwood News will continue to find more information while the production crew is still in town while you get the popcorn ready. Impact Norwood Youth Ambassadors kicked off their We Are the Norm campaign to educate the Norwood community on the actual behaviors of youth when it comes to substance use. Impact Norwood and Norwood Community Media collaborated on a PSA to get the word on out.
What do social norms mean to you?
Social norms are unspoken rules society follows.
They can be positive or negative.
Impact Norwood wants to change the way youth are perceived when it comes to substance use.
We are just trying to have fun and enjoy each other's company.
You're not being sketchy or up to no good.
91.4% of youth have never smoked cigarettes. Instead, I spend my time making resin art with my sister.
89.5% of Norwood youth choose to stay healthy by not using marijuana. Instead, I spend my time doing diamond paintings, playing with my little sister, and studying.
85% of Norwood youth chooses to respect their health and drinking laws by not consuming alcohol. Instead, I spend my time reading and talking with friends about TV shows we watch.
78% of Norwood youth makes a healthy decision not to use electronic vapor products. Instead, I spend my time doing Girl Scout projects, earning badges, doing hip-hop dances, and making new friends.
I spend my time on my STEM studies.
I spend my time watching TV and hanging out with my family.
Would you like to help us change negative social norms about youth?
We are the norm.
We are the norm.
We are the norm.
We are the norm.
We are the norms.
We are the norm.
We are the norm.
Tell us how you spend your time with friends by tagging us on Facebook and Instagram at Impact Norwood.
Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back next week. But until then, have a great weekend.